Hello students, so we are in the month of January and our practical exams, the final practical exams are very near, right? And in this time I have received so many requests from you people to make some videos regarding the practicals. So to help you with this, in this video I am going to discuss the detailed strategy, how you should be preparing for your practical exams, what mistakes you should avoid so that you can get 30 out of 30 in your chemistry practicals, okay? At the end I will also be telling you some detailed and secret tips, okay, that you should be following while going to the exam. So let us go now here and understand the exam pattern of practical exams. So first is your volumetric analysis experiment, it carries 8 marks, okay. Next you have salt analysis, that also carries 8 marks. Then you have content based experiment, that carries 6 marks. Then you have project work and viva, 4 marks, and then you have the class record and viva, that is your 4 marks, right. This I think everybody will be knowing. Now, before going to the experiments and talking more about that, I want to tell you that you should keep certain key things in your mind and you should follow this till your practical exams are over, and it is applicable for all the practical exams. So, and many of you are very scared about the viva, okay, you think that what questions will be asked, we do not know anything about the experiment, what viva questions will be asked. Such type of fear is generally there in students, because in viva you directly sit in front of the invigilator, they put your questions, and that is the something first time you do, right, because in other exams you just write and come, you do not interact with the invigilator directly. So when as a student the same thing happened, we were very scared about the practical exams, and especially the only thing that comes to mind is what if I am not able to answer the viva questions. So I am here to remove this fear. I want to tell you something very important from my this many years of as a student, as a teacher, as an invigilator. So I want to tell you something. First of all, most of the students, okay, like maximum percentage of the students get 25 plus out of 30 in their practical exams, okay, and you should be like in good terms with your teachers and with your school authorities, so that they will help you to get this marks, okay. So that is the first thing. Keep good relation with your teachers, not now, it should be there from the starting. You should have good relations with your teachers and especially your practical teachers, right. So we all get fear about the viva, okay, but you should remember that hardly 4 to 5 or I can say 4 to 6 questions will be asked in your viva examinations, not more than that. Then mostly they will be from your syllabus, from your theory syllabus, means see, very few invigilators go and ask much deeper concepts about the experiment. They will just ask you some questions, like suppose for example chlorine, you are doing this experiment of analysis of anion, you have analyzed chlorine, some questions are related to that, or generally in general they will be asking you the questions from your PU2 topics, okay. And one very interesting thing is sometimes some invigilators also ask you to choose a chapter and they will ask you questions from that particular chapter. So there is a very interesting thing here, you can prepare any one chapter perfectly, okay, and try to select one chapter, read everything that is possible in that particular chapter and go. So in case also if you are not able to answer some questions, you can request the invigilator and tell them, sir, I have studied this, sir or ma'am, I have prepared this chapter, please ask questions from this. That is also allowed in viva, you can tell like that, there is no problem in that, okay. So make sure that you have prepared at least one chapter thoroughly, everything from there, your concept should be clear, formula should be remembered, if any equations are there you should remember everything. So prepare one chapter properly, so that if the invigilator asks you from their side, tell me one chapter from where I will ask you questions, then that is very good. But in case if you are not able to answer the questions, you can suggest from your side also, okay, fine. Next is understand the basics or principles and name of the experiment. So sometimes questions are asked, also I have seen students not able to answer what experiments are there in their syllabus. So make sure that what all experiments you have, their names you should be knowing, okay. Like for example in volumetric analysis, what experiments are there, in salt analysis, what salts you have analyzed, right, in content based, which functional groups, which biomolecules you have analyzed. So these all things, basics, name of the experiments you should be knowing. And always try to know the basic principle of any experiment. Like for example titration, what is exactly done in titration, what is the meaning of the word titration, that all basic knowledge, please keep it in your mind. Next, focus on writing the exam properly, do 2 to 3 mock tests, this is very important. See, Viva, even if you do not answer a single question, invigilator, if they find your behavior is good, if you are a good student, they will give you marks. Okay, by default many invigilators, if they are like generally very humble and they know that they have to give marks and they give you. But if you do any mistake in the exam paper, in your practical exam paper where you have to write the exams, if you do any mistake there, okay, then it is very difficult now. The fifth one, that is focus on writing the exam properly, do 2 to 3 mock tests. Now students, this is very important. See, even if you are not able to answer 1 or 2 questions or even not able to answer any question in the Viva, the invigilator, if the person is good, they will give you marks. But if you are doing any mistake in the exam paper of practical exams, there even the invigilator cannot help you. So make sure that you are writing the experiments properly, and to do that you should be giving at least 2 to 3 mock tests. Okay, this is very important. Just practice how to write the terms and all, you should be knowing, so that you do not waste time in your exam. You should be knowing what to write. You can start early, you can finish early, you can check, you can get time to do the experiments as well. Okay, fine. Next, maintain your practical record. In this also there are some things that you should be keeping in mind. First thing, all experiments should be completed. Okay, all experiments should be completed. First thing. Second thing is, you should also your record should be corrected. Record should be corrected from the teachers. Okay, from your whoever is your school teacher, college teacher, from there it should be corrected. Third, roll number, your roll number and the record should be covered. These 3 things, please take care. This comes under maintaining your practical record. Okay, this is done. Now coming to the first set of experiments, that is volumetric analysis. Here we have 2 experiments, titration of KMnO4 with oxalic acid and titration of KMnO4 with more salt, right? And here you have 2 things to do. First is the preparation of standard solution of oxalic acid, and second one is to calculate the molarity and strength of KMnO4. Similarly, here you have preparation of standard solution of more salt, 100 ml of m/10, that is whatever will be given in the question. This term varies in different experiment, and calculate the molarity and strength of KMnO4 solution. Okay, so these are the experiments for volumetric analysis. So what you should be doing here? First thing, what all things should be written in your record? First thing, you should be writing aim. So aim, please remember, always write from the question paper, how it is given. Exactly write like that. Okay, like for example, you have to write this one, preparation of standard solution of oxalic acid of given volume, you can write down of 100 volume of m/20 oxalic acid. Okay, exact term please mention. Next thing, apparatus and chemical required are generally optional. I have seen many invigilators do not ask that to write. Okay, you can talk to your practical teacher, it may vary from college to college, but yes, whatever I have observed, this is not required in many of the cases. Once you have written aim, next is molecular equation and ionic equation. This is very important. Okay, and how you have to do? You have to learn it. There is no other option. You have to learn it. Okay, some invigilators ask you only molecular equation. Some invigilators ask ionic equation as well. Some ask both also. So it is better to prepare both and write both in the paper. Next, you have to use indicator. What is the indicator in this particular experiment, and what is the endpoint? Endpoint is colorless to pink, right? And indicator is your KMnO4. Now, once you have done these things, you have written these things, next thing is your observation. In observation, you have to write what is the solution you have taken in burette, that is KMnO4, and what is the solution in the conical or titration flask, that is oxalic acid or more salt. Clear? Okay. After this is your observation table. Here there are certain very important things that I am going to tell you, please keep in mind. First, make the table neatly, okay, and the lines and all you should draw it using a scale. So please carry pencil and scale and rubber like eraser to your examination hall. I have seen students, they are asking for scale, pencil in the examination hall. Please do not be careless like this. If the invigilator is not good, if they see you roaming like this, they will always put a negative impression on you. So make sure that you have taken scale, pencil, everything, and do the table correctly first. Okay, first column will be your serial number where you will be having 4 readings, then volume of oxalic acid or more salt. So do not write both, whichever you have given in the experiment you have to do that. I have taken an example and given you both. If you are doing the oxalic acid, put oxalic acid, more salt, put more salt. Then burette reading, so here it should be initial burette reading, final burette reading, volume used in ml. Here I want to tell you very important thing, do not write ml here, do not write ml here. No, this is completely wrong. You should only use the word volume in the difference between the final reading and the initial reading. Okay. Now suppose here you have got a reading like 0 and 10 something for example, and next reading you can start from anything. I have seen students filling the burette again and then doing the experiments. Okay, you can start from there only, no issues in that. This difference should be correct, and this volume which you are writing, the final minus initial, that value should be written in ml. Means here you can write ml, not here, not here. Please do not write, do not do this mistake. Okay. Now here there should be 4 reading. The first reading will be a rough reading and the next 3 readings are called as your concurrent readings. Okay, concurrent readings. Okay, and this, the what I'll say, the rough reading is just a reading done to understand at what level you are getting, or after using how much amount of this KMnO4 you are getting the color change. So to get a rough idea you have to do that, but after that for the next 3 do it slowly, do it properly, check the exact, do not over do not leave the burette long, and over the, like I'll say, the color should not go very dark. Okay, it should be the tint or light pink coming when from colorless to pink. At that time you have to be very, very careful. Okay, so that is there. And after that, once you get, so what will be the volume of KMnO4 used? Volume of KMnO4 used will be equal to the readings, like I suppose the R1 R2 I am writing like this, R1 plus R2 plus R3 divided by 3. Okay, the average value of the readings, that should be your final volume used. Okay, fine. After that, the calculation part, the first calculation part is to calculate the weight of more salt required to prepare this much value. Okay, more weight of more salt or oxalic acid based on the question. Okay, so I have taken an example. So here you know what is the, we know molarity is equal to how much? Molarity is equal to W by M into 1000 by volume in ml, right? So what is the molarity? 1 by 20. Okay, what is the W? We have to find out. What is the molar mass? Suppose if it is more salt, it is 392 gram into 1000, right? What is the volume? 250. Okay, so do this calculation and find the value of weight that is required to prepare the standard solution. The second calculation is to calculate the strength and the molarity of KMnO4 solution. So to calculate molarity, it is N1 M1 B1 is equal to N2 B2 M2. So here what you have to write, what is the value of, what is N1, what is M1 and what is V1. Similarly, what is N2, M2 and V2. N1 you can write N factor, right? So for suppose this is for more salt and this is for KMnO4, right? So you can put M1 is the molarity, that is what you have got M1, V1 is the volume, M2 is the molarity of KMnO4, V2 is the volume of KMnO4, right? So what you have to find in this experiment, you have to find the value of M2. Okay. Now what is the value of N2 for KMnO4? This is 5. Okay, please remember this value is 5. Next, N1, if it is more salt, then its value is 1. Okay, and N2 if it is N1 if it is oxalic acid, then it is 2. Okay, these values you should be knowing. Okay, next N1 N2 you know, M1 more 1 by 20 we know, volume whatever you take in that experiment 10 ml we know, V2 that you have the average value that you have calculated, that is your V2, N2 value is 5, you have to just calculate this M2 value. Okay, that is how the calculation. Next, strength is molarity into molar mass. So molarity we know, we have calculated here molar mass we will multiply it. So, you should be knowing the molar mass. So, what is the molar mass of more salt? It is 392. So, you have to multiply that, and the strength answer will be in terms of grams per liter. Okay, unit should be clear, grams per liter. Okay. So, finally, in the result section you should be writing the given KMNO solution has this much molarity and the strength is this much. Again you can just write down molarity and strength values. Again units should be not forgotten. Okay. Now, in some cases precautions are asked, sometimes precautions are not asked. So, just remember 2 to 3 precautions and go and write down in the exam. Okay. So, that is my advice. Fine. Next, coming to salt analysis. Okay, so these are the different types of salt. In the salt analysis, what basically you have to do? You have to identify a cation and an anion given in the experiment, given in the particular salt, right. So, these are the different salts, cations and anions that are generally done in the in your labs. So, you should be knowing their test. Now, I will be telling you how to write that. I hope this is visible. The first part is to analyze, the aim should be very clear, to analyze the basic and acidic radicals. Then you should be doing 4 columns: serial number, experiment, observation and inference. Okay. So, now you can write, the first is your preliminary test. Under preliminary test what we have? Color, smell of the test, smell test, sorry, then dry heating test and flame test. You have to write the experiment under that and the observation and what are the inferences. Always remember, when you are doing preliminary test, okay, in the observation you should always write may be present, may be present, may be present or may be absent. Okay, may be present or may be absent. You should not write is or confirm, nothing like that. Use the word may be, very very important for the preliminary tests. Okay. So, this particular experiment is written for lead acetate. Okay. Sorry, one second. This is for lead acetate. Okay. So, this is what first we have done some preliminary test. Okay. And after doing the preliminary test, you have to go for identification test. Okay. So, identification test, once you do test number 5 and 6, you have dilute H2SO4. Okay. So, here if you get no, like the same thing, you have to write the inference and all. So, no change or change, whatever happens, then you have to write the observation and then inference. Now, when you are writing for the identification test, you see the word used is are present. Okay. Are absent or are present, is present. Okay. Like that you have to write. There it was maybe. Okay. Next, you have done another concentrated sulfuric acid test, you are getting some vinegar like smell. So, CH3CO minus is present. Okay. So, first what we have done, preliminary test, then we are doing identification test for acidic radicals, we are getting that this is present. Next, we will be doing the confirmatory test for CH3CO minus. And remember, for confirmatory test you should write at least 2 tests, mandatory. You have to write confirmatory test, 2 tests is compulsory. Okay. So, first FECLT test you have written, and when you are writing confirmatory test, the inference should be is confirmed. Okay. In preliminary, maybe, maybe. In identification, is. In confirmatory test, confirmed. Okay. So, first is your FECLT test, and one more thing, when you are writing, it should be in the passive voice. Okay. The text and the experiment should be written in the passive voice. Okay. It is not that add this chemical to this, add dilute H2SO4 to the sodium extract, not like that. Dilute H2SO4 was added to sodium extract, you can write in that way, passive form of the sentence. Okay. After that, what we have done, oxalic acid test you have written, ester test you have written. Okay. So, these are any two confirmatory tests you have to write. So, with this the acidic radical part is done. First preliminary test, then you have the identification test, then you have the confirmatory test. After that, what we are going to write? We are going to write for basic radical, identification test for basic radicals. Okay. So, here also you can see once I have done, so Pb2 plus is present. Okay. So, because it is group 1, I got it directly, or we can write it in a very small period of time. But if your group 1 salt is not there, you are getting in group 5 or group 6, then you have to write group 1 is absent, group 2 is absent, group 3 is absent, group 4 is present. Like that you have to mention, you have to go step by step from group 1 to group 5 or 6. Okay. After that, once you have done with the identification test, you have to go for confirmatory test of PB2 plus. Okay, again you have to write 2 confirmatory tests. Once that is done, PB2 plus is confirmed, PB2 plus is confirmed. The test, you know, first one is potassium iodide test, you will get a yellow precipitate. Potassium chromate test, you can get yellow precipitate. Okay. Now finally the results should be written like this: basic radical PB2 plus, acidic radicals CH3COO minus. Okay. So that is the result part. Okay. So now this is how you should be doing the experiments. I told you what all things you should be taking care of in viva, in practical record and in your experiments. Okay. Now coming to some mistakes that you must avoid while going for practical exams. Please do not do these mistakes at all. First thing, not following the instructions. You should be very careful what the examiner is saying, whether they are telling you to write the materials required or not, whether they are telling you to write the calculations, like what all things they are telling you, asking you. If you have any doubt, please ask to your invigilator, ask to your teacher, because your practical teacher will also be there with you. So ask them, but do not do any mistake on the paper. Okay, that is very, very important. Second, submit incomplete or unchecked record. Please do not do that. That carries a negative impression. Your marks will also be deducted, because this is something where you can easily get 4 marks. Okay, so do not lose that. Next, rude behavior in front of invigilator. So students, please be very humble with your invigilator. Your 30 marks is in their hands, right? So you should show some respect, some obligation to them. So please behave properly, behave decently in front of your invigilator. Do not do any like nuisance while doing the experiments or anything in front of your invigilator. Impression carries a lot of weightage here. Okay, fine. Next, not writing the steps correctly in the practical exam. So I told you, whether you are doing the experiment or not doesn't matter, whether you are answering the viva questions or not doesn't matter. How you are writing in the exam paper, that is what carries 30 marks, or that is what will decide everything. So make sure that you prepare at least 2 to 3 mock tests and do not leave even a single step while writing the experiments. Okay. Next, spoiling your sheet. This is very, very important. See, this is I am suggesting you, this is my request. I have seen many students suffering from here, because it is a chemistry lab. Chemicals will be there, chemicals falling, spilling is something very common, and you will be getting only one examination seat, because every student that is coded, the serial number is coded and it cannot be changed. You can get additional papers, but you will not get additional the main sheet. So please make sure that your main sheet is safe from these chemicals. Do not keep on the table. You can keep it in the drawer, you can keep it down. Okay, protect it from, you can also spill it, even your friends can spill it. Okay, so it can be spoiled by anyone and nobody can be blamed there. The person who is going to suffer is you, right? So please make sure that you are protecting your main sheet very, very at highest priority in the exam hall. Okay. Next, forgetting lab coats and shoes. This I have seen so many times. Students are just at the end of before going to the exam, they are asking, sharing with each other, they are exchanging and coming. Please don't get into this first. Take your own materials, take your pencil, scale, pen, everything, so that you can write the exam, you can attempt the exam without any like hustle. Okay, so please do this. Make sure that you do not do any of these mistakes. These are, I'll say, not academic, but has a lot of importance on the exam day. Okay. So yes students, that's all, and I want to tell you, if you want further help, if you want to know some viva questions also, if you want me to discuss, you can put it in the comment section. I'll definitely come with a very important video where I'll be discussing all the probable important viva questions. But yes, let me know if it is required or not. If it is required, I'll definitely do it. So if you put comments and if I find that many of you have done this, many of you require this, then I'll be coming up with that. Okay, that's all in this class, and I hope these tips and have definitely helped you and you would have understood how to attempt. And students, please do not worry, 25 plus we can expect easily most of the time. Okay, but I'm not saying every time, some extreme conditions have also taken place, but yes, you should be prepared. And do not worry about the viva, just know the basics and prepare one particular chapter thoroughly and go for your exams. But do not forget to write 2 to 3 mock tests of your practical exams. Okay, so that's all students, and if you have found this video helpful, please do not forget to subscribe the channel. See you soon in the next class.